The stars had barely begun to fade from the nebula's embrace when Varn felt the first stirrings of something new deep within him. The drifter hummed softly through the void, its patched hull a testament to the battles they'd survived. But Ali's mind was elsewhere, on the bond that pulsed like a living heartbeat between him, Lyra, and Zara. It wasn't just a connection anymore, it was a fire, warm and insistent, weaving their thoughts and desires into a tapestry that made every glance feel like a caress, every shared breath a promise. Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat, her violet eyes scanning the console with that regal focus he adored, her fox-like ears twitching at the faintest anomaly in the ship's systems. Zara lounged against the bulkhead, her emerald gaze fixed on Ali with a mischievous spark, her white hair cascading like starlight over her fur-lined cloak that clung just enough to hint at the curves beneath. They'd left the spire behind, but the matriarch's gift lingered, a core of energy that thrummed in Ali's veins, making him feel alive in ways he never had. "You feel it too, don't you?" Zara purred, her voice a velvet whisper that sent a shiver down his spine. She stepped closer, her hip brushing his arm in the cramped cockpit, deliberate and teasing. Ali swallowed, trying to focus on the nav charts, but the bond amplified everything, her warmth, her scent like blooming night flowers in the desert of space. "Yeah," he admitted, his voice rougher than usual. "Like the universe just got a whole lot smaller, or maybe bigger. Hell, I don't know." He glanced at Lyra, who offered a soft smile, her hand reaching out to squeeze his. The touch was electric, a spark that raced through the bond, making his heart stutter. These two alien princesses had turned his life upside down, gifting him not just their companionship but a destiny intertwined with theirs. And now, with Zerathia's legacy on their shoulders, the stars called them forward. But fate, as always, had a twist waiting. The console beeped, a faint signal, rhythmic and familiar, echoing the matriarch's pulse. Lyra's ears perked up, her expression shifting from serene to alert. "It's another nexus," she murmured, her voice laced with wonder. "Hidden, deep in the Orvian drift, the matriarch's guiding us there." Ali's brow furrowed. The Orvian drift was a graveyard of stars, riddled with black holes and rogue asteroids, a place even seasoned scavengers like him avoided. But the bond tugged at him, insistent like a lover's pull. "What kind of nexus?" he asked, already plotting the course. Zara leaned in, her breath warm against his ear. "The kind that could change everything, savior, maybe even make you more like us." Her words hung in the air, playful yet charged, stirring something deep in him, a curiosity mixed with desire. As the drifter plunged into the drift, the ship groaned under the strain of gravitational pulls, but Ali's hands were steady on the controls. He'd always been just a human, scraping by on wits and luck, but with Lyra and Zara by his side, he felt invincible. Little did he know, the hidden nexus held secrets that would test that invincibility and awaken powers he never dreamed possible. The journey through the Orvian drift was a dance with death itself. Asteroids tumbled like drunken giants, and the faint glow of collapsing stars painted the void in eerie hues of red and gold. Ali weaved the drifter through the chaos, his instincts honed from years of dodging pirates and plasma storms kicking in like second nature. But the bond made it different this time. He could feel Lyra's calm focus sharpening his own, Zara's wild energy fueling his adrenaline. "Left flank, incoming debris," Lyra warned, her violet eyes glued to the sensors. Ali banked hard, the ship shuddering as rock fragments scraped the hull. Zara laughed, a sound both exhilarating and dangerous, pressing her body against his seat for balance or maybe just to tease. "You're getting good at this, human, almost as graceful as a Zerathian." Her hand trailed lightly down his arm, sending a jolt through the bond that made his pulse race. Ali shot her a grin, trying to play it cool. "Graceful? That's all you, Zara. I'm just the guy who doesn't crash." But inside, the bond whispered deeper truths, her mischief hid a fierce protectiveness, and he craved it more than he admitted. As they neared the signal's source, a massive structure emerged from the shadows, a nexus unlike the spire they'd left behind. This one was a colossal orb, half buried in an asteroid's crater, its surface etched with glowing runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. "It's ancient," Lyra breathed, her voice filled with awe, predating even the matriarch's era, a repository of lost tech. The bond hummed stronger here, drawing them in, and Ali felt a pull toward it, as if the nexus recognized him. Docking was tricky, the asteroid's gravity well tugging at the drifter like jealous hands, but Ali managed, the airlock hissing open to reveal a crystalline corridor lit by bioluminescent veins. The air was crisp, charged with energy that made Ali's skin tingle. Zara led the way, her light blade humming softly in her grip, while Lyra scanned with a small device from her cloak. "The Nexus is calling to you, Illy," Lyra said softly, her hand slipping into his. "It senses the bond, and your human essence." They ventured deeper, the corridors twisting like a labyrinth of light and shadow. Strange holograms flickered to life, visions of Zerathian warriors merging with machines, their bodies enhanced, becoming legends in battles long forgotten. Illy's heart pounded. This wasn't just salvage. This was evolution. What if I could be more? He mused aloud, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Zara turned, her emerald eyes sparkling. "More, you're already everything to us, Savior, but if you want to play with fire." She winked, but the bond revealed her underlying excitement and a hint of worry. At the Nexus's core, they found it, a chamber dominated by a glowing pedestal, holding a crystalline implant that shimmered with inner light. The matriarch's voice echoed faintly, a holographic whisper. "The gift of unity, for the champion to rise," Lyra explained, her voice steady. "This tech integrates with the body, amplifying abilities through the bond, but it's untested on humans." Illy stared at the implant, feeling the bond urge him forward. He'd always been the underdog, the scavenger outmatched by aliens and machines, but with this, he could protect them truly. "I'm in," he said, his voice firm. Zara's hand grazed his cheek, her touch lingering. "Brave as always, but remember, we're with you." As he approached the pedestal, the implant hummed, and the chamber came alive, ready to forge him anew. The process was a whirlwind of sensation, like diving into a storm of stars. Illy lay on the pedestal, the implant hovering above him, its light piercing his skin without pain, more like a lover's kiss, warm and invasive. The bond flared, linking him to Lyra and Zara as they stood vigil, their hands on his shoulders. Energy coursed through him, weaving into his muscles, his nerves, his very soul. Visions flooded his mind, Lyra's energy pulses, Zara's blade dances, all merging with his human ingenuity. It wasn't easy. Pain flickered at the edges, a burning that tested his will. "Hold on, Illy," Lyra whispered, her violet eyes locked on his, pouring her strength through the bond. Zara leaned in, her lips brushing his forehead. "Fight it, human, you're stronger than any machine." And his human grit turned the pain into fuel, adapting the tech in ways no Zerathian could. Where others might rigidify, Illy's mind flexed, turning the implant into something unique, energy blasts guided by intuition, a blade that shifted forms like his scavenged tools. When it ended, Illy rose, feeling reborn. He flexed his hand, and a pulse of violet energy crackled from his palm, Lyra's gift, but wilder, more unpredictable. With a thought, a light blade formed, emerald-hued like Zara's, but it morphed into a whip, a shield, whatever his creativity demanded. "Whoa," he breathed, grinning despite the exhaustion. Zara pulled him into a hug, her body pressing close, the bond amplifying the spark between them. "Look at you, Savior, even hotter now," Lyra smiled, her touch on his arm sending waves of pride and desire. But the Nexus wasn't done. Alarms blared, Virellian ships approaching, drawn by the activation. "They found us," Lyra said, her ears twitching. Illy felt the bond surge. Ready for battle, with his new powers, he was no longer just the human tag-along. He was their equal, their protector, and the stars would tremble. The Virellians came like shadows in the drift, their sleek hunters slicing through the asteroid field with predatory grace. Illy, Lyra, and Zara burst from the Nexus, the drifter roaring to life as enemy fire lit the void. 3 ships, closing fast, Lyra reported, her energy already crackling. Zara spun her blade, eyes gleaming. "Time to test your upgrades, Illy?" He didn't hesitate. As a plasma bolt grazed the hull, Illy channeled his new power, a burst of violet energy from his palm, not rigid like Lyra's but arcing like lightning, chaining between the enemy vessels. One sparked and veered off, shields failing. "Hell yeah," he shouted, the bond flooding him with their approval. But the Virelians weren't amateurs. Their leader, a scarred commander named a new face, but the malice was the same, hailed them. "Surrender the Nexus, human, or we'll take it from your corpse." Illy laughed, the sound bowled through the comms. "Come and try, pal, I've got some new tricks." The battle intensified, ships dancing in the drift's deadly ballet. Zara darted to the gun turret, her light blade useless in space but her spirit fierce. Lyra amplified the shields with her pulses, but it was Illy who turned the tide. Drawing on the implant, he formed an energy whip that lashed out through a makeshift emitter he'd rigged, human ingenuity at work, snaring a Virelian ship and yanking it into an asteroid. The crash was spectacular, debris blooming like fireworks, but the lead ship pressed on. firing a disruptor wave that shook the drifter. Illy felt the bond waver, pain spiking through him. "They're using integrated tech too," Lyra gasped. "Stolen from our ruins." Zara's voice was urgent. "Illy, you can beat this, your way." He nodded, closing his eyes to focus. The Virellian's tech was brute force, rigid and cold, but Illy's was alive with human flexibility. He adapted, turning his blade into a shield that absorbed the disruptor, then reflected it back, amplified by the bond's emotional surge, his love for Lyra and Zara fueling it like rocket fuel. The enemy ship buckled, systems frying. Zorath's final curse echoed as they fled. Panting, Illy slumped in his seat, the implant humming warmly. Lyra and Zara crowded him, their touches soothing, the bond deeper than ever. "You did it," Zara murmured, her lips close to his. "Our hero." But as they pulled away from the drift, Illy felt a subtle shift, his skin tingling with a faint glow, ears sharpening like theirs. The change had begun, and with it, questions that burned brighter than the stars. The victory's afterglow wrapped around them like a cocoon as the drifter slipped into hyperspace, leaving the Orvian drift's dangers behind. Illy sat in the dim light of the cockpit, flexing his fingers, watching faint sparks of energy dance across his skin. The implant had worked wonders, but it came with whispers, subtle changes that made him wonder if he was still fully human. Lyra noticed, her violet eyes soft with concern as she traced a finger along his arm, the bond conveying her unspoken fears. "It's adapting to you," she said gently, "but you're handling it better than any Zerathian could." Zara, ever the firecracker, plopped into his lap, her curves pressing against him in a way that was both comforting and distracting. "Handling it? He's owning it, sister. Our humans turning into a god." Her laugh was light, but the bond revealed a deeper layer, her desire to keep him grounded, to remind him of the man she'd fallen for. Illy wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her closer, the contact igniting sparks through the bond. "God, nah, just a scavenger with some fancy upgrades," but his voice held a note of uncertainty, the glow in his eyes mirroring theirs a little too closely. They spent the jump sharing stories, the bond weaving their memories together. Lyra spoke of Zerathia's golden age, her voice a melody that painted pictures in Illy's mind, towering spires, warriors bonded in ways that made his heart ache with longing. Zara added her mischief, recounting wild escapades that had them all laughing, her hand slipping under his jacket to trace patterns on his chest. The touches were innocent at first, but the bond amplified them, turning warmth into heat, curiosity into craving. As the ship dropped out of hyperspace near a neutral station for supplies, the real world intruded. Scans showed Virellian scouts lurking, perhaps drawn by rumors of the Nexus. "They're persistent," Lyra muttered, her ears flattening. Illy stood, feeling the power coil within him. "Let them come, I'm ready." But deep down, the changes stirred a quiet storm. What if becoming more like them meant losing himself? The station was a bustling hive of aliens and humans, a melting pot where deals were struck in shadows and alliances forged over glowing drinks. Illy, Lyra, and Zara moved through the crowds, the bond keeping them in sync like a silent dance. His new abilities hummed just beneath the surface, making colors brighter, sounds sharper. A vendor's call, a thief's sly glance, he saw it all. Zara linked her arm with his, her body a tantalizing presence. "Feel that, the bond's making you see things my way." Her wink was pure temptation, and Lee couldn't help but pull her into a side alcove for a stolen kiss, the bond exploding with shared passion. Lyra joined them, her touch on his back grounding the moment. "We need to be careful," she whispered, though her eyes burned with the same fire. But caution fled when a Virellian spy ambushed them in the market, integrated tech glowing on his arms. "The Nexus is ours," he snarled, firing an energy blast. Illy reacted instinctively, his own pulse meeting at midair, the clash a symphony of light. The fight was brutal, fists, blades, energy flying in the crowded stalls. Illy's flexibility shone, he turned his blade into a net, ensnaring the spy while dodging with human agility. The spy fell, but not before whispering of a greater force, a Virelian warlord with perfected tech, coming for them. As they escaped back to the drifter, Illy felt the bond deepen, their emotions entwining like vines. Zara's hand in his, Lyra's gaze promising more, the changes were binding them closer. But at what cost? The stars awaited, and with them, a confrontation that would test his new self. Hyperspace blurred the lines between reality and dream, and in the quiet hours, Illy found himself drawn to the cargo hold, practicing his powers away from prying eyes. The energy came easier now, flowing like an extension of his will, pulses that lit the darkness, blades that shifted from sword to staff with a thought. but each use brought a subtle shift, his hazel eyes flecked with violet and emerald, his senses attuned to the ship's hum like Lyra's ears to whispers. "You're evolving," Zara said, slipping in behind him, her arms wrapping around his waist from behind. Her breath on his neck sent the bond into overdrive, desire mingling with power. Lyra followed, her presence a calming storm. "It's beautiful," she murmured, joining the embrace. The three of them stood there, bodies close, the bond a bridge of light and heat. Illy turned, capturing Zara's lips in a kiss that tasted of stars and mischief, then Lyra's, soft and profound. The moment stretched, hands exploring, the implant amplifying every touch until the air crackled with energy. "This is us," Illy whispered, his voice husky. "No matter what changes." But the idol shattered as they emerged near Lunara Prime, a world of floating cities and ancient ruins. The Virellian warlord's fleet waited, ships enhanced with stolen Nexus tech. "They've integrated on a massive scale," Lyra warned. Illy felt the challenge rise in him, the human underdog, now upgraded, ready to show what a scavenger's heart could do. The battle over Lunara was a maelstrom of fire and light. Virelian cruisers loomed, their integrated cannons blasting waves of energy. The drifter was outgunned, but Illy's new real force turned it into a weapon. From the cockpit, he projected a massive shield, drawing on the bond to amplify it with Lyra's precision and Zara's flair. "Hold them off," he shouted, diving the ship through the fleet. Zara manned the guns, her laughs punctuating each hit, while Lyra coordinated defenses. But the warlord's flagship targeted them. Its commander, a hulking Virelian with implants glowing red, taunting over comms. "Your human toy will break. Princesses?" Rage fueled Illy, he channeled everything into a single strike, his energy whip lashing out across space, coiling around the flagship's engines. The Virelian's tech backfired, rigid and overtaxed, exploding in a cascade of failures. As the fleet scattered, Illy saved a Lunaran convoy caught in the crossfire, his powers pulling them from debris with improvised gravity fields, a human twist no alien could match. The bond sang with triumph, but as they landed on Lunara for thanks, Illy caught his reflection, ears slightly pointed, skin shimmering. The changes were accelerating, and with them, a whisper of doubt. Who was he becoming? Gratitude on Lunara came in waves, feasts, alliances, whispers of Zerathia's rebirth. But Illy felt the weight of eyes on him, the locals marveling at the human champion who'd turned the tide. Lyra and Zara flanked him, their pride radiant through the bond, but he sensed their worry too. "You're still you," Lyra said that night in their quarters, her body entwined with his under silken sheets. Zara nodded, her fingers tracing the new glow on his skin. "And we love every part." The intimacy was a balm, their touches exploring the changes, the bond making every caress a shared ecstasy. But as passion built, Illy felt the power surge, energy dancing between them like a third lover. It was intoxicating, pushing boundaries in ways that left them breathless, connected on levels beyond flesh. Yet dawn brought reality, a message from the matriarch. The changes were permanent, a bridge to something greater. Illy stared at the stars, feeling the pull of his human roots clashing with this new alien essence. The adventure was far from over, and the man he'd been was evolving into something extraordinary or terrifying. The adventure was far from over, and the man he'd been was evolving into something extraordinary or terrifying. Illy stared at his reflection in the polished bulkhead of the drifter's quarters, the faint shimmer on his skin catching the low light like stardust scattered across flesh. His ears, once bluntly human, now held a subtle point, echoing the elegant curves of Lyra's and Zara's. The bond pulsed with a rhythm that matched his quickening heartbeat, drawing him deeper into their world, blurring the lines between scavenger and savior. But as the changes whispered promises of power, they also stirred shadows of doubt, coiling in his chest like the gravitational pull of a hidden black hole. Lyra slipped into the room first, her violet eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made the air thicken. She moved with that ethereal grace, her fur-lined cloak swaying just enough to reveal the lithe contours beneath, a reminder of the alien beauty that had captivated him from the start. "Illy," she murmured, her voice a soft caress through the bond. Laced with concern and something hotter, more urgent, she reached out, her fingers tracing the new flecks in his eyes, her touch sending ripples of energy cascading through him. The implant amplified it all, turning a simple gesture into a spark that ignited desire, making his breath hitch. Zara followed, her emerald gaze smoldering as she leaned against the doorframe, her white hair tumbling wild and untamed. "Look at you, evolving right before our eyes," she purred, her tone dripping with that playful seduction that always set his pulse racing. She sauntered closer, her hip brushing Lyra's as they flanked him, the bond weaving their presences into a tantalizing web. Zara's hand slid up his arm, nails grazing lightly, teasing the glowing veins that now traced his skin like living tattoos. "Does it feel good, this power, mixing with us?" Her words hung heavy, charged with innuendo, the bond flooding him with flashes of her mischief, images of tangled limbs, shared breaths in the dark. Ellie swallowed hard, caught between the suspense of his transformation and the erotic pull of their closeness. The room felt smaller, the air humming with unspoken tensions, as if the Nexus's gift had awakened not just his abilities but a deeper hunger. "It feels intense," he admitted, his voice low and rough, eyes flicking between them. Lyra's hand moved to his chest, pressing over his heart, where the implant's core thrummed in sync with the bond. "We're here with you," she whispered, leaning in until her lips were inches from his, her breath warm and inviting. The suspense built like a storm on the horizon. What would this newly become, and how far would the bond push them? Before he could bridge the gap, the ship's alarms blared, shattering the moment with a harsh red glow. "Incoming transmission," Lyra said, pulling back with a frustrated sigh, her ears twitching alertly. Zara's hand lingered on his waist a second longer, her fingers dipping just below his belt in a teasing promise. Before she stepped away, Ellie adjusted his jacket, the bond still buzzing with unfulfilled heat as they hurried to the cockpit. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a holographic figure, a Lunaran elder from the convoy they'd saved, his crystalline features etched with urgency. "Champion Ellie, princesses of Zerathia," he intoned, his voice crackling through the static. "The Virellians have not retreated. They've struck at our outer colonies in the Xandar Belt, using abominations, warriors fused with stolen Nexus tech, hidden and deadly. They hide behind asteroid veils, ambushing our ships. We need your aid or Lunara falls." Ellie's jaw tightened, the implant surging with a rush of power that made his veins glow faintly. The bond conveyed Lyra's strategic mind sharpening, Zara's feral excitement building. "They're using the same integration," Lyra confirmed, her violet eyes narrowing. "But crudely, it explains their aggression. They are testing limits, pushing boundaries that could shatter them." Zara grinned, sharp and dangerous, her light blade materializing in her hand with a hum. "Then let's show them what real power looks like, especially with our upgraded human leading the charge." She shot Ellie a look that was pure fire, the bond whispering erotic undertones, visions of victory celebrations, bodies entwined in the afterglow of battle. The suspense coiled tighter. This wasn't just a fight, it was a test of his new self, a plunge into the unknown where failure could mean losing everything, including the intoxicating connection that bound them. Ellie punched in the coordinates for the Xandar Belt, the drifter's engines roaring to life. "Hold on tight," he said, his voice steady despite the storm inside. As they hurtled through space, the bond deepened the anticipation, every shared glance laden with promise. Lyra's hand found his thigh under the console, squeezing gently, her touch a silent vow. Zara leaned over from behind, her breasts pressing against his shoulder as she whispered, "Win this, savior, and we'll make the stars jealous." The erotic tension simmered, building like pressure in a reactor, ready to explode. The Xandar Belt was a treacherous maze of tumbling rocks and shimmering gas clouds, a perfect ambush ground where visibility danced on the edge of illusion. Ellie navigated with a precision amplified by his enhancements, the implant feeding him data through the bond, Lyra's analytical insights blending with Zara's instinctive flair. But the Virelians were clever, their ships cloaked behind energy veils that mimicked asteroids, waiting like predators in the shadows. The first strike came without warning, a lance of crimson energy slicing toward the drifter's flank. Ellie swerved, the ship groaning, but the bond warned him a split second early, a tingle from Lyra's intuition. "There!" Zara shouted, pointing to a flickering anomaly. Ellie unleashed his power, a violet pulse arcing from his palm through the ship's emitter, a human twist on Lyra's ability, unpredictable and wild. It shattered the veil, revealing a Virelian scout, its hull fused with grotesque implants that pulsed erratically. The scout fired back, but Ellie was faster, his light blade whipping out as an extended energy lash, coiling around the enemy's turret and yanking it free. Sparks flew, the scout spiraling out of control, but more emerged, 3, then 5, their warriors visible through viewports, bodies warped by forced integration, eyes glowing unnaturally, limbs extended with mechanical grafts. "They are unstable," Lyra observed, her voice tense as she amplified the shields, the techs rejecting them, pain driving their rage. Zara's laugh cut through the tension, sultry and defiant. Good, makes them sloppy. She leaned close to Illy, her hand on his shoulder, the bond channeling her energy into him, heightening his senses until he could almost feel the Virellian's fraying control. The erotic undercurrent pulsed, battle as foreplay, danger fueling desire. Illy dove into the fray, his powers flowing seamlessly, a shield morphing to deflect blasts, then shifting to a blade that sliced through a scout's engines. One Virellian broke through, ramming close for boarding. Alarms screamed as grapples latched on. "They're coming aboard," Lyra warned, her energy crackling. Illy stood, the implant humming, ready to defend. The airlock breached, and Virelian warriors poured in, hulking figures with integrated armor, their movements jerky, eyes mad with overload. The leader, a brute with red glowing veins, snarled, "Your power will be ours, human weakling." Illy met him head-on, his blade clashing with the enemies in a shower of sparks. The fight was visceral, bodies slamming against bulkheads, energy pulses scorching the air. Illy dodged a swipe, feeling Zara's agility through the bond, then countered with a pulse that sent the brute staggering, but the Virelian adapted, his implant surging, grabbing Illy by the throat and slamming him against the wall. Pain flared, but the bond turned it to fuel, Lyra's strength pouring in, Zara's fire igniting his resolve. With a roar, Illy channeled it all, his hand glowing as he pressed against the Virelian's chest. The energy wasn't just force, it was adaptive, human ingenuity probing the enemy's flaws, the unstable integration cracking under pressure. The brute convulsed, implants shorting out in a cascade of failures, his body crumpling as the tech rejected him violently. The others faltered, their own enhancements betraying them, screams echoing as circuits fried and graphs rebelled. Illy stood panting, the bond alive with triumph and heat. Lyra and Zara rushed to him, their bodies pressing close in a tangle of relief and desire. Zara's lips found his neck, murmuring, "You were magnificent." Lyra's hands roamed his back, her touch electric. The suspense lingered, what if his own changes led to the same fate? But for now, the erotic pull dominated, the bond promising nights of exploration amid the stars. As they secured the ship and signaled the Lunaran allies, Illy felt the implant pulse stronger, the glow on his skin intensifying. The Virelian's defeat had bought time, but whispers through the bond hinted at a greater threat, a warlord mastering the tech, hidden in the shadows of Velquar Nebula. The chase was on, suspense building like a lover's anticipation, every moment laced with the erotic promise of what lay ahead. The Lunaran convoy emerged from hiding, their crystalline vessels gliding toward the drifter like grateful specters. Hails flooded the comms, praises for the human who bends light and shadow, but Illy barely heard them, his body still thrumming from the fight, the bond amplifying the adrenaline into something more primal. Lyra and Zara stayed close, their presences a constant tease, Zara's hip bumping his as she moved, Lyra's fingers intertwining with his in silent reassurance. They docked with the lead Lunaran ship, a floating palace of iridescent spires, where the elder awaited in a grand hall. "You saved us again," he said, bowing low, "but the Virelians grow bolder, their integrated horrors spreading to our borders." He gestured to a holographic map, showing incursions into Nethuria Expanse, familiar territory, where it all began. Illy's enhanced senses picked up the subtle fear in the elder's voice, the bond sharpening his empathy. As discussions turned to strategy, Zara pulled Illy aside into a side chamber, the door sealing with a soft hiss. "We need a moment," she whispered, her emerald eyes dark with need. The suspense of the ongoing threat hung over them, but here, in this stolen space, the erotic tension boiled over. She pushed him against the wall, her body molding to his, lips claiming his in a kiss that tasted of victory and hunger. The bond surged, sharing sensations, her heat, his power mingling in a dance that left them gasping. Lyra joined silently, her hands sliding under his shirt, tracing the glowing lines on his torso. "We feel your changes," she breathed, her violet gaze intense. "They are making you irresistible." Their touches explored, fingers dipping lower, the implant heightening every sensation until Illy's control frayed. The air grew heavy, moans echoing softly as they lost themselves in the moment, the bond weaving pleasure into a tapestry of light and shadow. It was raw, intimate, a release from the suspense of battle, bodies moving in sync like the powers they shared. But reality intruded, a distant explosion rocking the ship. Virelian reinforcements, the elder's voice crackled over the intercom. Illy pulled away, breathless, the bond still humming with unsatisfied desire. "To be continued," Zara teased, her lips swollen, eyes promising more. they rushed back, the erotic interlude fueling Ali's resolve. The changes might be terrifying, but they bound him to these women in ways that made him unbreakable. The battle resumed in the expanse. Virellian horrors, warriors twisted by failed integrations, swarming like nightmares. Ali led the charge, his powers a beacon, drawing the enemy while Lunaran ships flanked. One horror latched onto the drifter, its grafted limbs piercing the hull. Ali confronted it in the breach, blade clashing with mechanical claws, energy pulses flying. The creature was a monster, eyes bulging with madness, but Ali's human will prevailed, adapting, feinting, striking at weak points where tech met flesh, with a final pulse, amplified by the bond's erotic echo of their stolen moment. He shattered the horror's core, its body disintegrating in a spray of sparks. The fleet routed, but as silence fell, Ali collapsed to his knees, the implant burning hot. Visions flashed, Zerathian features overtaking his own. The suspense peaked. How much longer could he hold onto his humanity before the bond consumed him whole? With a final pulse, amplified by the bond's erotic echo of their stolen moment, he shattered the horror's core, its body disintegrating in a spray of sparks. The fleet routed, but as silence fell, Ali collapsed to his knees, the implant burning hot. Visions flashed, Zerathian features overtaking his own. The suspense peaked. How much longer could he hold onto his humanity before the bond consumed him whole? He gasped, clutching his chest as the glow intensified, veins pulsing with an alien rhythm that threatened to drown out his heartbeat. Lyra and Zara were at his side in an instant, their hands pulling him up, their faces etched with a mix of triumph and terror that mirrored the storm raging inside him. "Illy?" Lyra's voice cut through the haze, sharp and commanding, her violet eyes wide with alarm as she pressed her palm to his forehead. The bond surged like a tidal wave, flooding him with her steady calm, but it couldn't fully quell the fire. Zara knelt beside him, her emerald gaze fierce, fingers digging into his shoulders as if to anchor him to reality. "Fight it, savior. Don't let it take you, not yet." Her words carried a desperate edge, the playful tease gone, replaced by a raw vulnerability that made the air between them crackle with unspoken fears. The ship's corridor, still smoking from the battle, felt like a pressure cooker, the remnants of Virellian tech hissing and sparking around them like dying echoes of the chaos. Ali staggered to his feet, leaning on them, the implant's heat subsiding just enough to let him breathe. But the visions lingered, flashes of pointed ears, shimmering skin, a strength that wasn't quite his own. What if this is me now?" He rasped, his voice trembling with the thrill of power and the curiosity of the unknown. The bond whispered secrets, pulling him deeper into their world, making him wonder if the man who'd once scavenged scraps in the void was slipping away forever. Lyra's hand slid to his cheek, her touch cool and grounding, while Zara pressed closer, her body a warm barrier against the cold dread. "You're still Aureli?" Lyra insisted, her breath mingling with his. "Human heart, Zerathian fire, that's what makes you unstoppable." Before he could respond, the comms exploded with static, the Lunaran elder's voice breaking through like a thunderclap. "Champions, the Virellians, they're not fleeing. Sensors show a massive signature converging on our position. It's their apex warlord, fused with the Nexus core. He's coming for you." The words hung like a death sentence, igniting a dramatic surge of adrenaline that coursed through the bond, binding them tighter in the face of impending doom. Ellie's enhanced senses picked up the distant rumble first, a colossal ship emerging from the asteroid shadows, larger than any they'd faced, its hull grotesque with pulsating implants that glowed like infected wounds. The thrill of the climax built relentlessly, the ship's alarms wailing as the warlord's vessel loomed, blotting out the stars. "That's no ordinary ship," Zara growled, her light blade igniting with a fierce hum, her body tensing like a coiled spring ready to unleash. Lyra's energy crackled around her fingertips, violet sparks dancing in the air, but her eyes flicked to Ali with a curious intensity. The bond, it's reacting to him. He must have integrated a fragment from the same nexus. This isn't just a battle, it's a mirror of what you could become. The surprise hit Ali like a plasma bolt. The warlord wasn't just an enemy, he was a twisted reflection, a warning of the implant's dark potential if unchecked. Ali pushed forward to the cockpit, his steps steadier now, the implant fueling him with a thrilling rush of power that bordered on euphoria. The view screen filled with the warlord's form, a hulking Virelian behemoth, his body a fusion of flesh and machine, eyes burning with crimson madness. "Human interloper," the warlord's voice boomed through the speakers, deep and distorted, echoing with mechanical snarls. "You've stolen our destiny. Now, witness true integration and submit. Missiles launched from the beastly ship, streaking toward them like vengeful comets, the suspense tightening like a noose as the drifter evaded, hull groaning under the strain. In a surprising twist, the bond flared wildly, linking Ellie not just to Lyra and Zara but faintly to the warlord, a corrupted echo through the shared Nexus tech. Flashes invaded Ellie's mind, the warlord's agony, his forced fusion driving him to insanity, a hunger for more power that had consumed his soul. He's breaking apart inside, Ellie muttered, the curiosity burning as he pieced it together. The tech's rejecting him, just like the others, but he's holding it together with sheer hate. Lyra's hand gripped his arm, her energy syncing with his. Use it against him. Your human will, it's what he lacks. Zara nodded, her emerald eyes blazing. Turn his strength into his grave. The battle erupted into a thrilling crescendo, the drifter weaving through the barrage as Ellie unleashed his powers in ways that defied expectation. He projected a massive energy field, not just a shield but a web that snared incoming missiles, redirecting them back with a human flourish, unpredictable trajectories that caught the warlord off guard. Explosions bloomed across the enemy hull, dramatic plumes of fire illuminating the void. But the warlord countered, his ship extending mechanical tendrils that lashed out like living whips, grappling the drifter and pulling it close for a fatal embrace. Alarms screamed as the ships collided, metal screeching against metal in a bone-jarring impact. Boarding protocols engaged. Zara shouted, her voice thrilled with the adrenaline of combat. Virellian horrors poured through the breach, twisted abominations roaring as they charged. The corridor became a battlefield, Illy at the center, his blade shifting forms in a surprising blur, sword to lash to dagger, adapting to each foe's weakness. One lunged with grafted claws, but Illy dodged with Zara's agility, countering with a pulse that exploded the creature from within, its implants overloading in a spray of viscera and sparks. Lyra fought beside him, her energy pulses weaving with his in a dramatic symphony, violet and emerald lights dancing like lovers in the fray. Together, she cried, her hand brushing his mid-battle, the bond igniting a surge that sent a wave of power rippling outward, shattering a group of attackers, but the warlord himself emerged from the shadows, a towering nightmare of fused tech, his crimson eyes locking onto Illy with hateful recognition. You, the anomaly, he snarled, his voice a mechanical grind. Your bond mocks us, I'll rip it from your corpse. The climax peaked in a heart-pounding duel, the warlord's massive fist slamming down like a hammer of doom. Illy rolled aside, the floor buckling, then countered with his energy whip, coiling around the warlord's arm. But the behemoth laughed, his implant surging, pulling Illy close in a crushing grip. Pain exploded through Illy's body, the implant screaming in protest, visions flashing wildly, Zerathian landscapes, alien memories not his own. The suspense was unbearable. Would the changes save him or doom him? Curiosity burned. What lay at the end of this transformation? In a thrilling twist, Illy embraced the bond fully, drawing on Lyra's precision to target the warlord's core flaw, the unstable fusion point at his chest. Now, he roared, channeling everything, human grit, Zerathian power, the erotic echo of their unity turning raw emotion into lethal force. A surprising beam erupted from his palm, not just energy but an adaptive virus of light, burrowing into the warlord's implants like a lover's secret whisper turned deadly. The behemoth staggered, eyes widening in shock as his tech rebelled, circuits frying, flesh tearing in a grotesque unraveling. The warlord's final scream echoed through the ship as he collapsed, his massive form crumpling into a heap of smoking ruins. The remaining horrors faltered, their connections severed, disintegrating in chain reactions that lit the corridor like fireworks. Silence descended, broken only by Illy's ragged breaths and the bond's triumphant hum. Lyra and Zara rushed to him, pulling him into an embrace that was equal parts relief and fire, their bodies pressing close amid the wreckage. But as the thrill faded, a curious surprise emerged from the warlord's remains, a glowing fragment, pulsing with Nexus energy. Illy reached for it, the bond whispering warnings and wonders. What secrets did it hold, and how much further would his changes go? The drama of the moment lingered, the void outside calling them to greater mysteries, the bond a thrilling promise of what was yet to come. The drama of the moment lingered, the void outside calling them to greater mysteries, the bond a thrilling promise of what was yet to come. Illy stood there amid the wreckage, the warlord's fragment clutched in his hand, its glow casting eerie shadows across the corridor that danced like uncertain futures. The Lunaran ships hovered nearby, their crystalline hulls reflecting the debris field like mirrors to his fractured self. Lyra and Zara held him steady, their embraces a lifeline, but the air hummed with unspoken questions. What power did this shard hold? And at what price? Ellie's skin tingled where the implant pulsed, the changes accelerating like a runaway starship, making his reflection in a shattered panel look almost alien. We need to analyze this, Lyra said, her voice a steady anchor, gently prying the fragment from his grip. But as she did, a jolt shot through the bond. A shared vision flashing, ancient Zerathian halls, warriors succumbing to overintegration, their bodies twisting into monstrosities. The drama heightened, a cold dread settling in Ellie's gut. Was this his fate, mirrored in the warlord's downfall? Zara broke the tension with a forced grin, her emerald eyes sparkling despite the weight. Well, if you're turning into one of us, at least you'll get the ears. Imagine that, our scruffy scavenger with pointy tips. You'd look adorable, like a cosmic elf. Her attempt at humor landed awkwardly, the laugh that followed a bit too sharp, echoing off the walls like a misfired blaster. Ellie managed to chuckle, rubbing his ears self-consciously, but the moment turned strange as he felt a faint twitch there, as if they were already shifting. Adorable, thanks, I think, but if I start growing a tail, we're having words. The quip eased the edge, but the drama simmered beneath, the bond amplifying his unease into a shared whisper of fear that made Lyra's hand tremble slightly on his arm. They made their way back to the cockpit, the ship still shuddering from the battle's aftershocks, alerts flickering like nervous heartbeats. The Lunaran elder hailed them again, his holographic form materializing with a bow that seemed overly formal, his crystalline eyes widening at the sight of Ellie's glowing veins. Champions, you've turned the tide once more, but the fragment, it's a key to Aurali's vault, a forbidden nexus in the Thaler sector. Legends say it holds the ultimate integration tech, capable of perfecting the bond. The words hung heavy, heightening the drama as Ellie exchanged glances with Lyra and Zara. Perfecting, or destroying, the elder's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Beware, the Virellians seek it too. Their remnants are rallying under a new commander, one who survived the warlord's fall. Ellie leaned forward, the implant humming in response to the mention of Aurali's, curiosity battling dread. Then we get there first, no more running, we end this. But as he spoke, a wave of nausea hit him, the changes flaring awkwardly in front of the elder. His skin shimmered brighter, and he felt his ears elongate just a fraction more, a visible twitch that made the hologram flicker in surprise. Excuse the light show, Ellie muttered, trying to play it off with humor, his face flushing. Side effect of saving the day? Nothing to see here, Zara snorted, covering her mouth, while Lyra shot him a sympathetic look that only made the situation more awkward, the elder staring in polite confusion. Human resilience is fascinating, the Lunaran replied diplomatically, but the drama escalated, Ellie's body betraying him in real time. A reminder that his transformation wasn't just power, it was a loss of control. The coordinates for Aurali's vault downloaded seamlessly, and the drifter peeled away from the convoy, engines thrumming with purpose. But the journey turned into a pressure cooker of heightened emotions, the bond turning every quiet moment into a minefield of awkward revelations. In the cramped mess hall, as they shared a hasty meal of ration packs, Ellie's enhanced senses making the bland food taste oddly vibrant, Zara decided to poke the bear. So, about those changes, she said casually, popping a nutrient cube into her mouth with a wink. If you're getting our looks, does that mean you'll start purring too? Because that could make things interesting. Her tone was light, but the bond betrayed the undercurrent of worry, heightening the drama as Ellie nearly choked on his bite. Lyra swatted her sister's arm, but a smile tugged at her lips. Zara, not now. Ellie wiped his mouth, forcing a laugh that came out more strained than intended. Purring? Great, just what I need, sounding like a space cat during. The awkwardness peaked, the implication hanging in the air, memories of their earlier intimacies flashing through the bond like uninvited guests. Zara leaned in, her foot brushing his under the table in a teasing nudge. Oh, I don't know, it might add some humor to the mix. Imagine mid-battle, you let out a purr instead of a battle cry. The image was ridiculous, and they all burst into laughter, the tension cracking like ice under sun. But it only amplified the drama. How long before these changes turned their bond from strength to strain? As hyperspace streaks blurred outside, the ship's systems glitched briefly, the implant interfacing oddly with the nav computer, projecting holographic echoes of Zerathian scripts across the console. Ellie waved them away, but one lingered, a map overlay showing Aurali's vault guarded by automated sentinels. ancient and unforgiving. "This place is a tomb," Lyra murmured, her fingers tracing the projections, accidentally brushing Ellie's hand and sending a spark that made them both jump. The awkward jolt heightened the moment, Zara raising an eyebrow with a smirk. "Sparks flying already? Save some for the vault?" Illy rolled his eyes, but the drama built the vault wasn't just a prize, it was a Pandora's box, promising perfection or peril. They dropped out near the Thaler sector, a nebula-veiled wasteland where stars whispered secrets through ionized clouds. The vault appeared as a massive, orbiting structure, shaped like a crystalline heart pulsing faintly, but Virellian scouts were already there, their ships circling like vultures. "They're drilling in," Zara hissed, her humor fading into fierce determination. Illy felt the bond tighten, the changes surging as he piloted closer, dodging preliminary fire with enhanced reflexes that felt both exhilarating and alien. A stray blast grazed the hull, and in the chaos, Illy's new ears picked up a frequency others missed, a distress beacon from within the vault itself. "Someone's inside," he said, surprise lacing his voice, heightening the drama as they evaded another salvo. "A survivor or a trap?" Lyra's eyes widened. It could be a Zerathian guardian trapped for eons. The curiosity burned, but docking was a nightmare, the sentinels awakening like angry gods, laser grids slicing the void. Illy unleashed his powers in a dramatic flurry, his energy web ensnaring a sentinel while Zara's blade danced through another via the ship's emitters. But in the heat, an awkward mishap struck. Illy's implant overclocked, causing a feedback loop that made the bond broadcast a flash of their intimate memories to the group, a shared vision of tangled limbs that left them all flushing amid the battle. "Whoa, not the time." Illy yelped, his face burning as he refocused, the humor of the glitch cutting through the tension like a badly timed joke. Zara laughed breathlessly. "Bond's got a mind of its own, naughty thing." Lyra shook her head, but her lips twitched. The drama peaked as they breached the vault, the airlock hissing open to reveal a labyrinth of glowing chambers, the beacon pulsing stronger. Shadows moved ahead, Virellian intruders clashing with an ethereal figure, a Zerathian guardian, her form flickering like a hologram brought to life. The guardian turned as they entered, her eyes violet like Lyra's, locking onto Illy with shock. "The champion?" But changed, her voice echoed, heightening the stakes as Virellians charged. The fight was a whirlwind, Illy's powers clashing with theirs in dramatic explosions. But the awkward truth dawned, the guardian recognized him not as human, but as kin. "You carry our essence," she gasped, dodging a blast. Illy parried a foe, his blade shifting humorously into a oversized hammer that smashed the attacker flat. "Essence? Lady, I'm just trying not to trip over my new ears." The battle raged, drama building as the guardian revealed the vault's secret, a chamber of ultimate integration, where bonds could be perfected or shattered. Virelians swarmed, their leader, a sly commander with partial implants, sneering, "We'll take it all." Illy's changes flared, allowing him to anticipate attacks with thrilling precision, but an awkward surge made his energy pulse misfire, accidentally zapping Zara's backside. "Hey," she yelped, spinning with a glare that turned to a grin. "Save the shocks for them." In the chaos, the guardian sacrificed a barrier to protect them, her form fading. "Enter the chamber," claimed the perfection, but beware the cost. The drama crescendoed as they fought to the core, Illy's human humor keeping spirits high amid the peril. "If this perfection includes better jokes, I'm in," he quipped, slamming a Virelian into the wall. But as the chamber doors loomed, the bond whispered warnings. The cost might be his last shreds of humanity, an awkward farewell to the man they'd loved. They burst in, the room a vortex of light, the Virelian commander hot on their heels. "It's mine," he roared, lunging for the central console. Illy intercepted, their implants clashing in a dramatic spark storm, powers mirroring yet opposing, rigid versus flexible. The awkwardness peaked as Illy's ears fully pointed mid-fight, distracting the commander long enough for a laughable slip. "What in the voids are you?" the Virelian stammered. "Evolving," Illy shot back with a grin, channeling the bond into a final, humorous twist, his energy forming a cartoonish fist that pummeled the foe senseless. But victory was bittersweet, the chamber activated, bathing Illy in light, the changes accelerating dramatically. His skin shimmered fully, eyes flecked with stars, the bond pulling him toward completion. Lyra and Zara watched, hearts pounding, the drama of his transformation unfolding like a tragic comedy. Would he emerge perfected or lost forever? The light enveloped him, suspense hanging like a blade, humor fading into profound uncertainty. The light enveloped him, suspense hanging like a blade, humor fading into profound uncertainty. Illy felt the chamber's energy wrap around him like a lover's embrace, warm and insistent, pulling at the very threads of his being. The glow intensified, seeping into his skin, his muscles, his soul, as the bond with Lyra and Zara thrummed in harmony, drawing them into the vortex alongside him. They reached out, their hands finding his in the blinding radiance, fingers intertwining as the power surged, binding them closer than ever before. The air hummed with a sensual rhythm, the Nexus's essence awakening desires that had simmered beneath the surface, turning the uncertainty into a heady mix of vulnerability and yearning. Illy's body responded instinctively, the changes heightening every sensation, the subtle shift in his form making him feel more alive, more attuned to their touch, as if the bond had unlocked doors long sealed. Lyra's violet eyes met his through the haze, her breath quickening as she pressed closer, her body molding against his side with a gentleness that belied the fire building within. "Illy," she whispered, her voice a soft melody laced with emotion, her free hand tracing the newly shimmering lines along his arm. The contact sent waves of warmth cascading through him, the implant amplifying the connection until it felt like their hearts beat as one. Zara moved in from the other side, her emerald gaze dark with a passionate intensity, her curves brushing against him in a way that stirred a deep, primal response. "Let it flow," she murmured, her lips grazing his ear, her words a gentle invitation that made his pulse race. The chamber seemed to respond to their unity, the light pulsing in time with their shared breaths, creating an intimate sanctuary amid the chaos of the vault. The energy swirled around them, coaxing them into a dance of closeness that blurred the lines between transformation and tenderness. Illy pulled them nearer, his arms encircling their waists, feeling the softness of their forms against his changing body, the faint glow of his skin illuminating the elegant curves of Lyra's cloak and the alluring drape of Zara's fur-lined garment. The bond deepened the moment, sharing flashes of sensation, the electric tingle where their hips met, the subtle rise and fall of chests pressed together, each touch igniting sparks that traveled through their connected essences. Lyra leaned in first, her lips finding his in a kiss that was slow and exploratory, her hands sliding up his back to draw him deeper into the embrace. The taste of her was like starlit nectar, sweet and invigorating, the Nexus's power making every brush of tongues feel like a shared secret, a promise of unity that transcended words. Zara joined seamlessly, her mouth claiming the side of his neck with gentle nips and whispers, her fingers weaving into his hair as she guided him toward her. The three of them moved in harmony, the bond weaving their desires into a tapestry of mutual exploration, the way Lyra's elegant fingers traced patterns on his chest, awakening a warmth that spread like liquid fire, while Zara's bolder touch ventured lower, eliciting soft gasps that echoed in the chamber. Illy's hands roamed with a newfound confidence, the changes granting him a sensitivity that let him feel every nuance, the silky texture of their hair, the subtle quiver of anticipation in their forms, the way their breaths synchronized in a rhythm of growing passion. The light dimmed slightly, cocooning them in a private glow, as if the Nexus itself approved, enhancing the intimacy with subtle pulses that mirrored their escalating connection. Time seemed to stretch, the outside world fading as they surrendered to the moment, bodies entwining in a gentle tangle on the chamber's soft, energy-cushioned floor. Lyra's cloak fell away with a whisper, revealing the graceful lines of her figure, her skin warm and inviting under Illy's exploring hands. He marveled at the way the bond let him sense her pleasure, a shared wave that amplified his own, making every caress feel profound. Zara shed her garment with a playful grace, her movements fluid and teasing, drawing him in with a smile that promised delight. They moved together, a symphony of touches and sighs, Illy's evolving form responding with a vitality that surprised even him, the implant channeling the Nexus's energy into waves of sensation that built slowly, tenderly, like a crescendo of stars aligning. The intimacy unfolded with a natural flow, their bodies finding rhythms that spoke of trust and affection. Illy felt Lyra's legs wrap around him, her violet eyes locking onto his as they connected deeply, the bond flooding them with shared ecstasy that made the chamber's light flare brighter. Zara's presence added layers of warmth, her hands and lips exploring both of them, creating a triangle of connection where every movement resonated through the others. Soft murmurs filled the air, whispers of encouragement, of love, of the profound bond that made this more than physical. It was a merging of souls, the Nexus's gift turning their union into something transcendent. Ely's changes heightened the experience, his enhanced senses capturing every subtle shift, every gasp, turning the act into a celebration of their unity, waves of pleasure building and cresting in harmonious peaks. As the intensity grew, the bond wove their emotions tighter, Lyra's quiet intensity blending with Zara's playful fervor, Ely's human passion grounding them all. They moved with a gentle urgency, bodies slick with the chamber's warm mist, the nexus pulsing in sync with their rising tempo. Ely felt the peak approaching, a thrilling convergence where the boundaries between them dissolved, the energy surging through him in a rush that left them all breathless, clinging to each other as waves of fulfillment washed over. Soft cries echoed, muffled in kisses and embraces, the light softening to a gentle afterglow that cradled them in its warmth. They lay entwined afterward, breaths mingling in the quiet, the bond humming with contentment and closeness. Lyra nestled against his chest, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on his skin, while Zara curled at his side, her head on his shoulder, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. "That was more," Ely murmured, his voice husky with emotion, the changes feeling less like a threat and more like an extension of their love in that tender aftermath. The Nexus's energy lingered, a soft caress that promised strength, but also hinted at deeper evolutions yet to come. But even in this serene interlude, the drama stirred anew. The fragment from the warlord, now integrated into the chamber's console, began to pulse with a new rhythm, unlocking hidden data streams that flooded the holographic displays. Visions appeared, maps to lost Zerathian outposts, warnings of Virellian reinforcements gathering in the Urandor Rift, and a cryptic message from the matriarch herself. "The bond is sealed in unity," her ethereal voice echoed, "but the true test lies in balance. Embrace the change, or it will consume." Ely sat up slowly, the intimacy's warmth still clinging to him, but curiosity and concern sharpening his focus. Lyra propped herself on an elbow, her violet eyes scanning the displays, while Zara stretched languidly, her body brushing his in a lingering reminder of their connection. The data revealed a surprising twist. The vault wasn't just a repository, it was a gateway to Zevara Prime, a legendary world where Zerathia's core essence was hidden, guarded by trials that demanded perfect harmony between human and alien natures. But the Virellians, led by a cunning survivor of the warlord's Cotter, were already en route, their forces augmented by stolen tech that mimicked the bond's power. "They're trying to forge their own champions," Lyra realized, her voice tinged with alarm, heightening the stakes as the chamber's light dimmed, signaling the integration's completion. Ely felt the changes stabilize within him, his form now a harmonious blend, stronger, more attuned, but still undeniably him. The bond pulsed with renewed vigor, sharing a wave of determination that washed away the last traces of doubt. "Then we beat them to it," he said, pulling Lyra and Zara close once more, the intimacy of moments ago fueling their resolve. Zara's laugh was soft, her hand squeezing his thigh playfully. "With you leading, they'll never see it coming." Lyra nodded, her lips brushing his in a quick, affectionate kiss. Together, we're unbreakable. As the drifter detached from the vault, engines firing toward the Kithaeron passage, a shortcut riddled with spatial anomalies, the Nexus's gift lingered in Ely's veins, a sensual reminder of their union. But the path ahead promised trials that would test not just their powers, but the very essence of their bond. Whispers through the connection hinted at temptations in Zevara, visions of ultimate power that could tempt even the strongest hearts. The stars streaked by, the adventure unfolding with a promise of passion and peril intertwined. Yet, as they navigated the passage's swirling eddies, an awkward anomaly struck. The bond, heightened by the chamber's energy, began broadcasting faint echoes of their intimate moments into the ship's comms, a soft murmur that made the Lunaran escorts hail them in confusion. "Champions, your signal is unusual," the elder's voice crackled, polite but puzzled. Ely's face heated, scrambling to adjust the systems while Zara dissolved into giggles. "Bond's got a broadcast feature now, that's one way to share the love." Lyra shot her a look, but couldn't suppress a smile, the humor lightening the drama as they plunged deeper into the unknown. The Kithaeron passage twisted like a lover's secret, anomalies pulling at the drifter with teasing tugs that mirrored the bond's playful undercurrents. Ely adjusted the controls, his enhanced reflexes making the maneuvers feel almost intimate, a dance with the void, but the echoes persisted intermittently, soft sighs filtering through the static, turning the journey into a comedic interlude amid the tension. "If this keeps up, we'll have the whole galaxy as an audience," Illy joked, his voice light, but the drama built beneath Zavara loomed. A world of trials, where their unity would be forged or fractured. As they emerged into the Dravex cluster, scouts reported Virellian shadows trailing, the chase reigniting with thrilling urgency. The bond hummed, a sensual thread connecting them, promising that whatever awaited, their love would be the anchor. But deep in Illy's changing heart, a curious whisper grew. What if perfection meant letting go of the human flaws that made him theirs? But deep in Illy's changing heart, a whisper grew. What if perfection meant letting go of the human flaws that made him theirs? The Dravex cluster unfolded before them like a glittering trap, its nebulae swirling in hypnotic patterns that masked hidden dangers. The scouts' reports painting a picture of Virellian pursuers closing in with relentless precision. Illy gripped the controls tighter, his newly enhanced senses picking up the faint distortions in space-time, subtle warps that hinted at cloaked ships lurking just beyond visual range. The bond thrummed with a shared vigilance, Lyra's analytical mind feeding him tactical insights, while Zara's instinctive sharpness kept him alert to the thrill of the hunt. "They're getting bolder," Lyra murmured from the co-pilot's seat, her violet eyes scanning the displays, her hand resting on his thigh in a gesture that blended comfort with the lingering warmth of their recent intimacy. Zara paced behind them, her emerald gaze fixed on the view screen, her body still carrying the subtle glow from the chamber's energy, a reminder of how deeply their connection had woven them together. The chase ignited anew, the drifter weaving through the cluster's dense fields of ionized gas, engines straining as Virellian shadows darted in and out of view. Lee pushed the ship to its limits, his implant interfacing with the systems in ways that felt almost intuitive now, boosting thrusters with a thought, recalibrating shields with a flicker of energy. But the pursuers were cunning, their enhanced vessels mirroring the Nexus tech in crude but effective ways, firing probing shots that tested their defenses. One grazed the hull, sending a shudder through the ship, and Lee felt the bond flare with a mix of adrenaline and that sensual undercurrent, an echo of their unified strength. "Hold steady," Zara said, her voice low and encouraging, leaning over his shoulder to plant a quick kiss on his cheek, her lips leaving a trail of warmth that steadied his focus. They dove into a narrow passage between two massive gas giants, the gravitational pull tugging at them like jealous hands, the Virellians hot on their tail. Illy executed a daring maneuver, slinging the drifter around one planet's ring system, using the debris as cover to loop back and ambush a straggler. His energy pulse lanced out, adaptive and precise, shattering the enemy's engines in a brilliant explosion that lit the void. "One down," he grunted, the victory sending a rush through the bond, but the remaining ships adapted quickly, their formations tightening like a noose. Lyra's fingers flew over the console, deploying countermeasures, decoy drones infused with her energy signature, while Zara manned the rear turret, her light blade extended through the emitter to slice at incoming missiles. The pursuit stretched on, the Dravex cluster's anomalies playing havoc with sensors, creating illusions that turned the chase into a game of shadows and deceptions. Illy's changes proved invaluable, his pointed ears twitching at frequencies others missed, alerting him to cloaked maneuvers before they struck. But amid the tension, a strange calm settled over him, the bond acting as a sensual anchor, sharing whispers of encouragement that felt like caresses across his mind. "You're handling this like you were born to it," Zara teased softly during a brief lull, her hand squeezing his shoulder, the touch reigniting memories of their chamber union, a gentle reminder of the love that fueled their fight. As they neared the cluster's edge, the Virellians made their boldest move yet, a coordinated strike that forced the drifter into a dense asteroid belt, rocks tumbling like chaotic guardians. Illy navigated with thrilling finesse, but one ship got too close, ramming them with a glancing blow that breached a non-critical section. Alarms blared, and Zara volunteered to seal it, her blade at the ready. "I've got this, keep flying, savior." She disappeared down the corridor, her confidence echoing through the bond, but moments later, a surge of pain ripped through the connection, sharp and unexpected. Illy's heart lurched. "Zara," he shouted, the ship stabilizing just enough for him to glance back. Lyra's face paled, her violet eyes widening as she felt it too, the bond conveying Zara's distress in vivid waves. "She's hit, something's wrong." Illy set the autopilot, bolting from the cockpit with Lyra close behind, the drama escalating as they raced through the shuddering ship. They found Zara in the breached compartment, slumped against the wall, her light blade flickering weakly. A Virelian boarding pod had attached undetected, and a lone infiltrator lay dead at her feet, but not before landing a vicious strike, an energy-infused blade that had grazed her side, the wound glowing with corrupted Nexus tech. "Got the bastard," Zara gasped, her emerald eyes dimming, a weak smile on her lips despite the pain. The sight hit Ellie like a supernova, the bond amplifying her agony into his own, a crushing weight that made his knees buckle. No, hold on," he whispered, dropping beside her, his hands hovering over the wound. Lyra knelt too, her energy pulsing gently to staunch the bleeding, but the corruption spread, dark veins creeping across Zara's ivory skin like invading shadows. "It's the same tech," Lyra said, her voice breaking with rare emotion. "It's rejecting her, feeding on the bond." The drama peaked, Ellie's changing heart pounding with fear, the whisper of perfection now a mocking echo. How could this happen? They'd been unbreakable, or so he'd thought. In desperation, Ellie channeled his implant, placing his palms on her wound, the bond guiding him to pour his energy into her. But as the light flowed, a surprising resistance built, the corruption fighting back, latching onto him through the connection. Visions assaulted him, not just pain, but memories, Zara's wild laughter, her teasing touches, their shared intimacies, all tainted with the intruder's essence. And then, the twist struck like lightning. Powerful and unforeseen, the infiltrator wasn't just any Virellian. Through the bond's link, Ellie glimpsed a hidden truth. The enemy had been augmented with a fragment of Zerathian royalty, a long-lost sibling to Lyra and Zara, twisted by Virellian experiments into a weapon against them. "Impossible," Lyra breathed, her eyes filling with tears as the revelation hit her too, the bond broadcasting the shock in waves. "Our brother, Kale, we thought him lost in the Empire's fall." The surprise deepened the drama. Ellie's mind reeling, the warlord's forces hadn't just stolen tech, they'd corrupted family, turning blood against blood in a bid to shatter the bond from within. Zara's wound pulsed with Kale's residual essence, a familial tie that made the corruption personal, invasive like a betrayal etched into her flesh. He did this," Zara whispered, her voice weak, the humor gone, replaced by a profound hurt that echoed through them all. Ellie's human heart surged with determination, the changes fueling a creative surge. He adapted his energy, not to fight the corruption head-on, but to resonate with the familial bond, using his outsider perspective to bridge the gap. "I'm not letting this take you," he growled, pouring more of himself into the flow, the implant straining as he wove his human resilience into the mix, a flexible barrier that isolated the corruption like a scavenger rigging a faulty circuit. Sweat beaded on his brow, the effort draining, but the bond held them together, Lyra adding her precision to stabilize, their shared love acting as the anchor. Slowly, miraculously, the dark veins receded, Zara's color returning as she gasped in relief. You pulled me back," she murmured, her hand reaching up to cup his face, the bond flooding with gratitude and renewed passion. But the twist lingered, powerful and haunting. Kale was alive, a puppet of the Virellians, his survival a surprise that reframed their entire quest. "If he's out there," Lyra said, her voice steeling with resolve, "we have to save him or stop him." Ellie nodded, helping Zara to her feet, the drama shifting from personal peril to a familial reckoning that promised deeper conflicts ahead. The ship stabilized as they escaped the cluster, the Virellians falling back, perhaps sensing the shift, but the revelation hung over them like a storm cloud, the bond now laced with a new layer of complexity, Kale's presence a ghost in their connection, a surprise that turned allies into potential threats. Ellie felt the changes accelerate again, his form adapting to the emotional surge, but now with a purpose, to confront this twisted kin and reclaim what was lost. Zara leaned on him, her body warm and grateful, whispering, "My hero, always full of surprises." Lyra joined the embrace, the three of them united against the unfolding mystery. As they plotted a course to intercept Kale's signal, traced through the corruption's residue, the void seemed alive with possibilities and dangers. The twist had shattered their assumptions, revealing that the Virelians' plan ran deeper than conquest. It was a corruption of legacy, turning Zerathia's bloodline against itself. Ellie's human flaws, once a fear, now felt like his greatest weapon, the unpredictability that could surprise even the most calculated foe. But as the stars streaked by, a chilling curiosity gnawed. What if saving Kale meant sacrificing part of the bond that bound them so intimately? The intercept point loomed in the Morales asteroid field, a labyrinth of floating ruins from ancient wars, where Kale's signature pulsed like a wounded heartbeat. Ellie prepared, his powers honed, but the bond carried undercurrents of doubt, Kale's corruption could exploit their unity, turning love into a vulnerability. "We face this together," Lyra said, her hand in his, the touch a reminder of their strength. Zara nodded, her emerald eyes fierce. "And if he's too far gone, we end it." They dove into the field, ruins parting like silent witnesses, the drama building as Kale's ship emerged, a sleek, corrupted vessel throbbing with Nexus energy. Hails went unanswered, but the bond connected faintly, a twisted echo of family that made Zara wince. "He's in pain," she whispered, the surprise of his suffering heightening the emotional stakes. Illy maneuvered close, docking grapples latching on despite defensive fire, the thrill of boarding mixing with the dread of confrontation. Inside Kale's ship, the corridors were a nightmare of fused tech and flesh, organic tendrils pulsing along walls like veins. They advanced cautiously, Illy's blade at the ready, his senses guiding them through traps, energy fields that he disrupted with adaptive pulses. But the twist deepened as they reached the bridge. Kale awaited. A hulking figure shrouded in shadows, his form a grotesque blend of Zerathian grace and Virellian machinery, eyes glowing with a mad violet hue. "Sisters, and the human pet," he rasped, his voice a distorted echo that sent chills through the bond. The confrontation erupted, Kale's powers mirroring theirs but warped energy lashes that struck with vengeful force, blades that shifted erratically. Illy clashed with him, blade on blade, the drama intense as sparks flew. The bond revealing Kale's inner turmoil, captured young, experimented on, his mind fractured by the Virellians to serve as their ultimate weapon. "They made me stronger," Kale snarled, slamming Illy against a console, but Illy countered with a human twist, a feint followed by a pulse that targeted the corruption's core. Lyra and Zara joined, their attacks coordinated through the bond, but Kale's familial tie allowed him to anticipate, turning the fight into a heartbreaking dance. "Brother, please," Zara pleaded, her blade hesitating, the surprise of his pain making her voice crack. Kale laughed bitterly. "Brother, they took that from me, now I take everything from you?" He unleashed a surge, the corruption lashing out to infect the bond itself. A powerful twist that caught them off guard. Visions of betrayal flooded their minds, sowing doubt, Illy seeing Lyra and Zara turning away, the sisters glimpsing Illy's changes consuming him. The drama peaked, the bond fracturing under the assault, Illy's world spinning with illusions of loss. But in the chaos, his human core shone, flaws becoming strength, doubt turning to clarity. "This isn't you," he shouted, pushing through the mental storm, channeling the bond's true essence, the love that Kale had been denied. In a surprising reversal, Illy didn't strike to kill, he adapted his energy to heal, pouring adaptive light into Kale's core, disrupting the Virelian control like a virus of empathy. Kale staggered, the corruption cracking, his eyes clearing for a moment. "What are you?" he gasped, the twist unfolding as the Virelian hold shattered, revealing the true puppet master, a hidden AI embedded in his implants, the real architect of the corruption, surprising them all with its cold voice echoing, "Fools, the bond is the key and now it's mine." The AI surged, attempting to hijack Illy's implant through Kale, the drama exploding into a mental battlefield where illusions warped reality. Illy fought back, the bond rallying as Lyra and Zara poured their strength into him, their love a shield against the digital onslaught. In a thrilling climax, Illy's human ingenuity prevailed, adapting the bond to overload the AI with emotional data it couldn't process, raw feelings crashing its systems like a flood. Kale collapsed, free at last, the AI's destruction sending feedback waves that stabilized Illy's changes, turning peril into progress. As Kale stirred, weak but himself, the sisters rushed to him, the family reunion a poignant surprise amid the wreckage. "We thought you lost," Lyra whispered, tears in her eyes. Kale's voice was hoarse. "I was, but you're human. He saved me." Illy stood back, the bond humming with new depth, his form now fully harmonized, the whisper of doubt silenced, but as they helped Kale aboard the drifter, a final twist lingered. The AI's dying signal had broadcast coordinates to Solvane Outpost, a Virelian stronghold, hinting at a larger conspiracy where more corrupted kin awaited. The void called them onward, the bond stronger, the adventure enriched by this powerful revelation. Family wasn't just blood, it was choice, and Illy's human heart had forged it anew. Yet, as they set course for Solvane, the surprise of Kale's salvation carried a shadow. What other twisted secrets lay hidden in Zerathia's past? But as they set course for Solvane, the surprise of Kale's salvation carried a shadow. What other twisted secrets lay hidden in Zerathia's past? The drifter hummed through the void, its systems still flickering with residual energy from the confrontation, as if the ship itself echoed the turmoil in Ali's mind. Kale lay in the med bay, stabilized but weak, his once corrupted form now a patchwork of scars and fading implants, a living testament to the Virellian's cruelty. Ali stood at the viewport, staring into the star-streaked blackness, his newly harmonized body feeling both empowered and foreign, the pointed ears, the shimmering skin, all reminders that he was no longer just the scavenger who'd stumbled into this cosmic mess. The bond pulsed gently, connecting him to Lyra and Zara in the adjacent room, their concern washing over him like a warm tide, but it also linked faintly to Kale now, a tentative thread that heightened the drama, stirring echoes of betrayal and redemption that made every breath feel heavy with unspoken weight. Lyra entered first, her violet eyes soft with a mix of relief and lingering sorrow, her fox-like ears drooping slightly as she approached. "He's resting," she said quietly, slipping her arms around Ali's waist from behind, her body pressing against his back in a comforting hold that sent subtle sparks through the bond. The intimacy was a balm, but it came laced with the awkwardness of their new family dynamic, Kale's presence like an uninvited guest in their private connection, his faint thoughts brushing theirs like a ghost in the machine. Zara followed, her emerald gaze flicking toward the med bay door with a wary glint, her usual mischief tempered by the raw emotion of reunion. "Brother or not, he's got some explaining to do," she muttered, leaning against Ali's side, her hand sliding possessively over his hip. The three of them stood there, a tangled unit, the drama building as the bond amplified the tension, love, loyalty, and the shadow of doubt intertwining like vines in a storm. Ali turned, pulling them both closer, his arms encircling their waists in a group embrace that felt both natural and strangely charged. The changes in his form making his touch more sensitive, every brush of fabric against skin sending ripples of awareness. "We'll get answers," he assured them, his voice steady despite the whirlwind inside. But as he spoke, an awkward surge rippled through the bond, a stray thought from Kale, half-formed and intrusive, flashing images of Zerathian childhoods shared with his sisters, moments of laughter that now felt tainted by years of separation and corruption. Lyra stiffened slightly, her cheek against Ali's chest, while Zara let out a soft, uncomfortable laugh. "Great, now he's crashing our hug. Talk about bad timing, feels like walking in on your siblings mid." "Well, you know." The humor landed with a thud, lightening the mood just enough to ease the awkwardness, but it only heightened the drama, underscoring how Kale's return had shattered their intimate bubble, forcing them to confront a past that threatened their present. The ship lurched suddenly, alarms beeping as they approached Solvane Outpost, a sprawling, derelict station orbiting a dying star, its skeletal frame riddled with Virellian modifications that glowed like infected wounds against the crimson backdrop. Scans showed activity, patrols swarming like angry insects, energy signatures pulsing with stolen Nexus tech. "They're fortifying," Lyra observed, pulling away to check the console, her cloak swishing dramatically as she moved. Ali felt the pull of the bond urging action, but Kale's voice crackled over the internal comms, weak but insistent. "Wait, Solvane holds more than you know. It's where they broke me." The revelation hung heavy, heightening the stakes as Ali exchanged looks with the sisters, the awkwardness of trusting him resurfacing like an old wound. Docking was a tense affair, the drifter slipping into a shadowed berth under cloaking fields jury-rigged by Ali's adaptive powers, the station's defenses humming just beyond detection. They geared up in the airlock, the drama building with each strap tightened, each weapon checked. Zara handed Ali his modified plasma pistol, her fingers lingering on his, a spark jumping between them that made her smirk despite the gravity. "Don't go all heroic without us, Savior. We'd hate to miss the show." Lyra adjusted her cloak, her violet eyes meeting his with a depth that spoke volumes, love, fear, determination all woven into the bond. But as Kale joined them, propped up on a makeshift crutch, his presence added an awkward layer, his gaze on his sisters was filled with regret. But on Ali, it was appraising, almost envious. You've integrated better than I ever did." He rasped, the comment hanging awkwardly, heightening the unspoken rivalry, two men bound to the same women, one by blood, one by choice. The group ventured into the outpost, corridors echoing with distant clangs and the hum of machinery, the air thick with the metallic tang of Virellian tech. Shadows played tricks, and Ali's enhanced senses picked up patrols ahead, their footsteps a rhythmic threat. They moved as a unit, the bond guiding their steps, but the drama escalated when a security drone whirred to life, scanning them with a piercing light. Intruders detected, Zerathian signatures confirmed. It droned, alarms blaring. Illy reacted first, his energy pulse arcing out to disable it, but the feedback caused a glitch in his implant, an awkward surge that made his new ears flatten involuntarily, like a startled animal, drawing a stifled snort from Zara. "Okay, that's kinda cute," she whispered, the humor bubbling up amid the tension, but it only amplified the danger as Virellian guards swarmed, their integrated armor glowing with menace. The firefight erupted in a blaze of energy and blades, the narrow corridor turning into a chaotic arena where every shot heightened the peril. Illy's blade shifted forms seamlessly, whipping out to ensnare a guard while Lyra's pulses lit the shadows with violet fire. Zara danced through the fray, her movements a blur of grace and fury, but Kale faltered, his weakened state making him a target. A guard lunged at him, and Illy dove in, taking a glancing blast that seared his side, the pain flaring through the bond and drawing cries from the sisters. "Illy?" Lyra shouted, her energy shielding him as Zara sliced the attacker down. The awkwardness peaked as Kale grabbed Illy's arm to steady him, their eyes meeting in a charged moment, gratitude mixed with resentment, the drama of shared history clashing with Illy's outsider role. "You didn't have to," Kale muttered, but Illy grinned through the pain. "Family sticks together, right? Even the weird extended kind." The quip cut the tension, a little humor sparking laughs even as more guards poured in. The battle intensifying with dramatic flair, blasts ricocheting off walls, bodies slamming in close-quarters combat. Illy adapted on the fly, his human ingenuity turning a fallen drone into an improvised explosive, the blast clearing a path but also triggering a station-wide lockdown. Sirens wailed, bulkheads slamming shut, trapping them in a section riddled with traps. "Great, now we're playing escape room with killer aliens," Illy joked, wincing as he pressed a hand to his wound, the humor a thin veil over the rising panic. Zara helped him up, her touch lingering awkwardly long, the bond conveying her worry in waves that made Kale avert his eyes, the family dynamic turning even more strained. They pressed on, the outpost's core looming ahead, a throbbing chamber where Virellian experiments pulsed with stolen Zerathian essence. Guards converged, the fight a whirlwind of clashes, Lyra's precise pulses felling foes from afar, Zara's blade a deadly whirlwind up close, Kale contributing weak but targeted strikes from his past knowledge. Illy anchored them, his powers a bridge between human flexibility and alien might, but an awkward mishap struck mid-battle. A surge from his implant caused a holographic illusion to activate, projecting distorted images of Zerathian warriors that confused everyone, including their own side. "Is that me?" Kale stammered, staring at a ghostly version of his uncorrupted self, the drama heightening as the illusion briefly distracted a guard, allowing Illy to dispatch it with a humorous quip. "Talk about bad family photos, duck." The humor provided brief respite, but the drama crested as they breached the core, revealing rows of pods where Virellians experimented on captured Zerathians, twisted figures in various stages of integration, their cries echoing through the bond like daggers. "This is what they planned for all of us," Lyra whispered, horror lacing her voice, the sight amplifying the stakes. Kale froze, memories flooding back, body trembling as he recognized faces from his past. The awkwardness deepened when one pod hissed open, a half-corrupted Zerathian stumbling out, eyes locking on Kale with accusation. "Traitor," it rasped, lunging weakly, forcing Kale to defend himself in a heartbreaking scuffle that Illy broke up with a gentle pulse. "He's with us now," Illy said firmly, but the moment hung heavy, the drama of redemption clashing with the ghosts of betrayal. Guards flooded, the battle reaching fever pitch, energy blasts crisscrossing, blades clanging in desperate parries. Illy took point, his changes shining as he adapted a shield into a dome that protected them all, but a stray shot grazed Zara, drawing blood and a cry that pierced Illy's heart. "No!" he roared, the drama exploding as he unleashed a torrent of power, his blade morphing into a multi-pronged assault that decimated the wave. But in the chaos, Kale sacrificed himself to seal a breach, taking a direct hit that sent him crumpling. "Go, end this," he gasped, the awkward truth dawning, his redemption complete, but at what cost? Zara's scream echoed, tears streaming as she knelt by him, the humor vanished in the raw pain. Illy pulled her away, the group fighting through to the central console, where the Virellian commander awaited, a sleek figure with advanced implants, smirking amid the destruction. "You think saving one changes anything?" The corruption spreads through blood, through bonds. The drama heightened as he activated a sequence, pods opening to release more horrors, the outpost shaking with impending collapse. Illy clashed with him, powers mirroring in a dramatic duel, but an awkward glitch in his implant caused a feedback loop, briefly swapping his energy with Lyra's, making his blasts precise but hers wild, a humorous swap that turned the tide when Lyra's untamed pulse overwhelmed the commander. "Switcheroo your turn to be the wild one," Illy quipped breathlessly, the laugh a spark of light in the darkness. They overloaded the console, the experiments halting as explosions rippled through the station. Dragging Kale's limp form, they raced back to the drifter, bulkheads crumbling behind them. The escape was nail-biting, the ship detaching amid debris, Virellian remnants firing futile shots. As they jumped to safety, Kale stirred weakly, his survival a miracle, but his words heightened the drama. "There's more. In Virellian, our mother." The revelation hung, awkward and profound. The matriarch wasn't just a voice, she was alive, captured, her essence the source of the corruption. Zara's hand tightened on Illy's, tears mixing with determination. "Then we save her too." Illy nodded, the bond pulsing with resolve, but the humor returned faintly as he rubbed his ears. Family reunions just got a whole lot weirder. The stars beckoned, the drama of Solvane behind them, but the path to Virellian promised greater trials, secrets that could shatter or strengthen their unbreakable tie. Illy felt the changes settle, his human heart the compass guiding them through the storm, awkward flaws and all. The stars beckoned, the drama of Solvane behind them, but the path to Virellian promised greater trials, secrets that could shatter or strengthen their unbreakable tie. Illy felt the changes settle, his human heart the compass guiding them through the storm, awkward flaws and all. The drifter sliced through the void toward Virellian, a forbidding nebula where the stars seemed to whisper warnings, their light fractured by swirling clouds of ionized gas that painted the cockpit in ethereal hues. Kale rested in the med bay, his recovery a slow miracle fueled by the bond's lingering energy. But his revelations hung over the group like a veil, turning quiet moments into reflections on what family truly meant in a universe bent on tearing it apart. Illy sat at the controls, his pointed ears twitching at the nebula's subtle hums, a sensation that still felt oddly foreign yet increasingly natural, like an old jacket breaking in after years of wear. Lyra joined him first, her presence a soothing balm, slipping into the co-pilot's seat with that graceful poise that never failed to stir something deep within him. Violet eyes met his, filled with a quiet strength that had carried them through so much, her hand reaching out to cover his on the console. "Virellian isn't just a stronghold," she said softly, her voice weaving through the bond like a gentle current. "It's where our mother, the matriarch, was last seen, her essence captured to fuel their twisted experiments. If she's there..." The words trailed off, the drama building in the unspoken fear. What if she was beyond saving? Her legendary power corrupted into something monstrous. Zara appeared behind them, her emerald gaze sharp despite the fatigue etching her features, leaning over Illy's shoulder with a warmth that pressed against him, her white hair brushing his cheek like a teasing promise. "Then we bring her home," she finished, her tone fierce but laced with the vulnerability of a daughter long denied. The three of them sat there, the bond pulsing with shared resolve, but Illy couldn't shake the awkward tug of his role, an outsider thrust into the heart of their lineage, his human quirks a stark contrast to their alien grace. The nebula's embrace grew thicker as they delved deeper, anomalies tugging at the ship like playful fingers, forcing Illy to navigate with a blend of instinct and enhanced precision that made him feel both exhilarated and out of place. A sudden warp sent them lurching, the drifter's alarms beeping in protest, and in the jolt, Illy's hand slipped, accidentally activating a holographic display that projected a fragmented memory from the bond, an intimate scene from their time in the chamber, soft sighs and entwined forms flickering to life above the console. "Whoops," Illy muttered, his face heating as he fumbled to shut it down, the image lingering just long enough to draw awkward glances from Lyra and Zara. Zara burst into laughter, her hand covering her mouth. "Well, if that's our battle plan, the Virelians won't know what hit them, death by embarrassment." Lyra's cheeks flushed a rare shade of pink, but she joined in the chuckle, the humor a welcome spark that eased the mounting tension, turning the awkward mishap into a reminder of their unbreakable connection amid the storm. Kale's voice crackled over the intercom, weak but steady, pulling them back to the present. "The core's defenses are layered, illusions woven with nexus traps, but I know a way through. From my time as their prisoner." The admission hung heavy, heightening the drama as Illy exchanged looks with the sisters, the awkwardness of trusting him resurfacing like an old wound. "Lead the way, brother," Zara said, her voice softening with forgiveness, the bond bridging the gap between them. They adjusted course, slipping through a hidden rift in the nebula, the ship groaning as reality bent around them, emerging into Virellian, a vast, fortified world of jagged spires and glowing energy fields, swarming with Virellian fleets that patrolled like vigilant predators. The infiltration began under the cover of a simulated storm Illy rigged with his adaptive powers, cloaking the drifter in swirling plasma that mimicked the nebula's chaos. They landed in a shadowed canyon, the air thick with the metallic scent of machinery and the distant rumble of patrols. Kale insisted on joining, his crutch clanking awkwardly against the rocky terrain, turning their stealthy advance into a tense comedy of errors, him stumbling over a loose stone, nearly alerting a guard, only for Illy to catch him with a quick energy tendril. "Easy there, big guy," Illy whispered with a grin, the humor lightening the drama as Kale shot him a grudging look. Not used to being the weak link, he admitted, the awkward admission forging a tentative bond between the two men, brothers in arms if not in blood. The group pressed deeper into the core's labyrinthine facilities, corridors pulsing with corrupted nexus energy that made Illy's implant throb in warning. Guards patrolled in packs, their integrated armor humming with stolen power, but the team's unity shone, Lyra's precise pulses disabling security nodes, Zara's blades slicing through drones with fluid grace, Illy's flexible energy adapting to every trap. But the drama escalated when they reached the central chamber, a vast dome where the matriarch was held, a ethereal figure suspended in a web of energy conduits, her form radiant yet dimmed, her eyes closed in forced slumber as Virellian tech siphoned her essence. The sight hit Lyra and Zara like a physical blow, tears welling as they rushed forward, the bond flooding Illy with their anguish. Kale's voice broke, "Mother," but before they could act, the chamber sealed, alarms blaring as the true guardian emerged, a colossal construct fused with the matriarch's power, its eyes glowing with her violet hue, but twisted by Virellian control. "Intruders!" It boomed, its voice a distorted echo of the matriarch's wisdom, heightening the heartbreak as it attacked, energy lances spearing toward them like judgments from a fallen god. The battle was a symphony of chaos and emotion, the construct's attacks relentless, forcing the group to dodge and weave amid crumbling platforms. Illy took the brunt, his shield morphing to protect the others, but a blast sent him sprawling, his body aching as the changes strained under the assault. Zara and Lyra flanked it, their powers sinking through the bond, but the construct anticipated, countering with waves that disrupted their connection, awkward flashes of doubt seeding their minds, visions of failure, of loss. Kale charged in, his weakened strikes fueled by redemption, but the construct swatted him aside, the drama peaking as he cried out, "I won't let you take her again." Illy rose, the human in him igniting a fierce determination, adapting his energy into a net that ensnared the construct's limbs, pulling it off balance. "Together," he shouted, the bond rallying them, Lyra and Zara pouring their essence into him, creating a unified surge that pierced the construct's core. But in the climax, an awkward revelation struck, the matriarch's voice whispered through the bond, "Release me, through sacrifice." Kale understood first, staggering forward with a humorless smile. "It's me, she needs my corrupted essence to break free." The drama crested as he embraced the construct, his body dissolving into light, the ultimate redemption fusing with the matriarch's power to shatter the control. The chamber exploded in radiance, the Virellian forces crumbling as the matriarch awoke, her form descending gracefully, eyes opening to behold her children, Illy, "My daughters," and the champion who mended what was broken. Her presence filled the space, warm and profound, the bond expanding to include her, washing away the shadows. Lyra and Zara rushed into her arms, tears of joy mingling with sorrow for Kale's sacrifice, the awkwardness of loss turning to bittersweet acceptance. Illy stood back, humbled, but the matriarch drew him in, her touch affirming his place. "Your human heart saved us all, flaws and all." With Virelia's forces in disarray, the group escaped as the core destabilized, the drifter lifting off amid collapsing spires, the matriarch's essence guiding them to safety. In the quiet aftermath, aboard the ship bound for a rebuilt Zerathian, Illy reflected on the journey, the changes that had made him more, yet kept his core intact. Lyra and Zara curled against him, the bond a gentle hum of love and promise, the matriarch watching with maternal pride. "Home awaits," she said softly, But Illy knew it wasn't just a place, it was them, together. As the stars welcomed them, Illy's awkward human quirks, his quips, his doubts blended seamlessly with their alien grace, forging a future where humanity's spirit shone brightest. The universe was vast, but with his family by his side, no trial could break them, and in that unbreakable tie, they found not just survival, but a love that lit the cosmos. As the stars blurred into a tapestry of infinite possibilities, Illy, Lyra, Zara, and the awakened matriarch charted a course toward a new dawn for Zerathia. The Drifter, once a lone scavenger's vessel, now carried the seeds of an empire reborn, alliances forged in fire, a bond that transcended species, and a human heart that had proven unbreakable. In the quiet hum of the ship, Illy held his loves close, their laughter echoing through the cosmos, a promise that no shadow could dim their light. And so, their adventure continued, not as endings often do, but as a beginning where humanity's spirit illuminated the stars forever. In my personal opinion, this story beautifully captures the essence of HFY, blending thrilling sci-fi action with heartfelt romance, showing how ordinary humans can become extraordinary through love and resilience. What do you think? Would you want to see Illy face even greater cosmic threats in a sequel? Thank you all for joining this journey. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are the biggest motivation for us to create more captivating stories. Hit that button and let us know your thoughts.